Trading Time with your host, John Rousseau.
Chris Dobbin is a visionary. He's an investor, developer, philanthropist. He's just got such a kind nature to him, and he's full of insight and has a really progressive attitude, which I appreciate. I've had several amazing discussions with Chris over the years about the future of our communities and the direction that we're heading. And I look forward to sharing this dialogue with you now. Enjoy Chris Dobbin.
So it's almost like lighting a bit of a spark, or it's all sparks.
So you're just trying to instigate this?
I'm just trying to help them along, like because I've done it before. Mm-hmm. I did it in Kensington, where I came up with a concept for the old street furniture and trees and gas lights and cobblestone sidewalks and gave it a little bit more of an identity. And this was a bigger area, and then just went to the landlords and said, your taxes are going to go up, but you know what, if we all got together and did all this, the area would really take on a character.
Yeah.
And it happened. Over years it happened, yeah.
They initially tried to do that with Summerland.
Yeah.
With this whole Tudor theme, and make it like what's the place just across the line here? German Bavarian village.
Yeah.
But they did. Yeah, thank you.
What?
Ebenwerth.
Yeah, I know.
And they just didn't do it.
It just didn't catch either.
It's like you can't just paste things onto a building that make it look like Tudor. You have to go the whole way.
Yeah. Right? No, absolutely.
And so, it's interesting because I spent a lot of my youth, I used to work downtown in a restaurant. And in between shifts, I worked double shifts, I'd go to the Beanery, pull a table right out to the end of Main Street and sit there and drink lattes and in between shifts and wait for my next shift to start. And we were always speculating on the fact that the last half of Main Street needs to be a walking block or something to that effect that would promote people to be out, have that feel that you're talking about. Maybe it's shaped and molded in a different way and it's more user-friendly.
Yeah, and challenge being how do you get through the winters when people leave and all that, but there's more and more young people wanting to be here with families. Mm-hmm. It's a great spot to live. I mean, you're an example.
Truly.
And so is Bryn and so are others. So anyway, I think Summerland's a particular jewel, I think, in the whole Okanagan for a number of reasons. And so I don't think it's far-fetched. And even if it's piecemeal, somebody does something nice there, and somebody does something nice there, and somebody does something nice there. It starts to make some sense. One of the problems has been nobody's used to paying any rent. I think the reason these projects don't happen is everybody pays $1,500 a month, including utilities. Well, that's not going to get things. But now people are paying rent in certain areas and making businesses work.
Can I want to add to what you're saying, Chris? It seems to me like a lot of times people take. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's say they have a great idea, and they take that great idea, and they try to cram it into a piece of pre-existing real estate, pre-existing building, whatever else. Try to make it work. And the intention behind it is good, but it seems as though that the businesses that really do well are the ones that take the architecture seriously. Case in point, Elma, the restaurant Elma in Penticton, spent a fortune getting that building right. 2 proper kitchens, properly designed on the interior, tasteful. You go in there, you feel like you're in a different time, a different place, you're being taken care of properly, the food is different, everything's different about it. You're not having a different experience in one of these same buildings that was an insurance broker 6 months before. And so I like your vision from the sense that, if you go in there and you intentionally build a piece of architecture that is suited for this purpose, you really will attract a broader...
Another example would be Wayne and Frida's.
Yep.
Like, not even a good location initially, around the corner, off the beaten track, can't see it,
Yeah.
They did a nice job in there.
Yeah, they did.
There's certainly room for another cappuccino bar in Summerland with good food.
It was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, no, and when you say architecture, to me, yeah, I mean, I would say the exterior, the landscaping. If you take a residential example, is where so many people fall down. All the money gets put in the house, but the outside of the house and the landscaping and the lighting and the driveway and the whole presentation is at least as important as any other aspect of it. And in some ways, it's more important because it's what you see driving by or walking by. So it has to be beautiful.
It has to be beautiful, doesn't it?
Mm.
Your residence is a very fine example of a fine example.
Thanks.
Your residence has a beautifully curated landscape package that I know your wife is very diligent in preserving and
Yep.
upkeeping.
Yeah.
And when I walk through the hallways of your home, they are broad and
No, we're very fortunate to be able to have done it, but also it was intentional.
of course it was.
Yeah.
It was intentional.
And we hired this wonderful company who does landscape lighting that came and just put the final touches on it. Lanterns hanging in the trees, and it's I don't know if you've seen it at night.
No, I don't know. Well, I've driven past it at night
Yeah.
and seen it lit up.
But down the side and at the back and the lakeside and stuff, it's nice at night with the lights. But yeah, it's the same point that so many times the landscaping is just not hardly paid attention to, or which is the architecture, which is how it looks.
How it frames the architecture
Yeah.
is the landscape.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah. So anyway, I mean, I'm just looking for somebody that can do literally a back of back of the napkin, like here. This look at this,
Now, the role that you're going to take in this project is one of investment, or one like you just want to coordinate this? How?
No, I would just be an encourager. I've done it before. I've been involved in it before. I kind of know how to do it. And so if someone else has the time and the energy to do it, they need some help, maybe with direction or I remember this story years ago. It was young Marine, and he's in a ship. They're off the shores of Korea, and this wasn't too much past the Korean War, and it's a U.S. ship, and it's like a typhoon storm, like really, really, really bad. And he's in his bunk, and it's like the ship's going to break in half. Everything's creaking and moaning, and he staggers all the way up to the captain's, place up in the windows where you see everything. And the captain's, sitting there like this with his arm out a little window, and it's all relaxed. He bursts in, he says, "What's going on? This is unbelievable." And he goes, "Oh no, I've been here before. You only have to do one thing. You just keep the bow straight into the wave. I've been through this before."
Yeah, that's right.
That's it. Oh.
We're not going to break in half.
No. And yeah, so I mean, I see myself as kind of a just
a mentor.
I'll help out, put people together maybe, or have or just somebody to bounce an idea off of.
Mentorship. I remember growing up in Summerland in this little town here. I remember hearing somebody say to me, if you really want to be a successful adult, you need 5 people that aren't in your immediate family that you could call 24 hours a day. You need to spend as much time with those people as possible, steal as much information and ideas from them as you possibly can.
I can take it one step further and say men generally are isolated, and they need a group of men that they actually meet regularly, and what's said there stays there, so that trust builds, so they can share stuff with other men that they can't share with anybody else. Wives, for example, about women. You can only share so much. You're not going to come home. I'm not going to come home. I use myself as an example. I say, I saw this woman today on the street. I can't believe they allow skirts. She was so hot. I mean, not edifying, not a good idea. But the guys could say, yeah, well, this is what I do. I try and, not take a second look, or I try and remember to look at my wife and thank God for her. And the grass isn't greener, it's meaner, and every man can relate to that. And so, a men's group is a really important thing for guys, particularly leaders, because they get isolated. Like, you hear about pastors in the church. If a pastor doesn't have a group of men that he's meeting with regularly, no big surprise that you find out they're into porn and they're into this and they're into that and they're into this and they're into that.
Yeah.
But if you have a relationship with 4 or 5 individuals that you're getting together with on a regular basis,
that are holding you accountable to your actions and trajectory.
Yeah, exactly. And it just flows. So I think that's important. Women do that more naturally.
That's part of their culture.
Yeah, and their makeup. They're more, their brains are different. It's almost like men have brain damage in the brain. Yeah, because we can turn off our emotions. Women can't. We can. That's how come Genghis Khan can roll through Europe and kill everything. Women, no. It's just different, and so it gives a space to become real. Yeah, which is good. Become free.
So, Chris, you said to me not too long ago that nobody wants to hear the ramblings of a 70-year-old man. And I think you also used the word white in there somewhere, a 70-year-old white man.
Oh, well.
And yet isn't it interesting how at this time we're talking about how you are stepping into that role of mentorship and the elder of the community, acting in this consultative capacity for a potential project like this that you see that is important, that would unite the community, would unite local business, young business interest. There really are those key opportunities that, because of your experience, you see this is an obvious development. Whereas to us, because we've lived here for so long, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, that's just always been that way. It's going to cost a fortune. It's going to shut Main Street down for 2 years. Like,
well, it's an interesting question, because it's not just that. It's that lots of times I think people don't do things because they think it's impossible to do. And I truly believe that if the idea is solid, there's always a way to make it happen. And money's one thing, but there's tons of money out there. If you've got a project that you think really works, a project that you believe so much in that you go to your parents and tell them to put a second mortgage on their house, or cash in their RSP, but in other words, you know that then you can go to others with that same enthusiasm, passion, and truth, and there's tons of money looking for a home, tons of money looking for a place to earn something with.
Especially at like an 8% inflation rate.
Yeah.
Money needs to get moving in order to grow or become anything.
So it becomes the quality of the project. Now, I mean, you've heard the expression, good ideas are a dime a dozen. Yeah, it's true. It's making them happen. That's the other part of the equation. You gotta
execute.
You gotta execute, and that's tough sometimes, a lot of the times.
Chris, when you were doing your development in Calgary, Kensington, are you known as the King of Kensington?
I was, yeah. That was it.
What were the challenges that you were running into at that time when you were doing that large development?
Well, it wasn't so much large. There were a bunch of little buildings. We were doing restorations, pick up a building, change the makeup, putting in commercial on the street. We would buy an old building, say a 1922 brick building on a corner, and put a little restaurant in the main, and put little shops above, and then even it's called repointing, where you take the brick out, turn it around, put it back in, and treat it like an antique. The tin ceilings and so it was repurposing older buildings. But there were some bigger projects too. There was an 8-story condo project number of years ago, and yeah, I was involved in that area quite consistently for, let's see, 40 years. Yeah.
40 years.
Yeah.
Starting
in 78. Yeah. And just one little project at a time, and sometimes I had whole blocks tied up and had shot for the stars, and others, you know. But here's an interesting thought. I always encouraged other developers to come in, because I can't do it all myself anyway. So if there was, let's say, a land assembly where I thought, you know, these few pieces of land, if they're put together, there's an LRT line coming, you know, there's going to be an LRT station there. This could be a good spot for some density. I would encourage another developer, come look over here. This is what you do. You build condos. You build eight-story condominiums. I don't. Why don't you look at this? I know the owners here. They'll do it. You can get the other ones. And so bringing in others, I didn't look at it as competition. I looked at it as no one person can be able to develop.
collaboration.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then sometimes I would end up joint venturing with them. Sometimes it was just like, here. A lot of times it was here. Go for it.
Too much for me. Take it over.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. It was great. I learned a lot. Did lots of different kinds of projects, industrial. Office. Yeah. Shopping center.
You're a professional risk taker? Is that your high value work, taking risks?
Yeah, I guess so. I guess I wasn't afraid to try, let's put it that way. You know, I once worked for about 2 years to tie up a trailer park on 27 acres. And this was what I call elephant hunting. Okay, I gotta kind of make my grind the living out over here, but at the same time, I'm talking to this guy that owns this 27-acre mobile home park right on Crowchild Trail, which is a major artery, and there's going to be an LRT station there. And
acronym?
LRT is light rail transit,
Thank
so
you.
yeah, subway, but above ground. And
Rail.
Rail.
Electrified or diesel?
I think it's electric. Yeah. Well, it is electric. And
It's come up in previous conversation.
Yeah.
Talking about the importance of rail.
Yeah.
And the impact of rail versus car traffic. How light of an impact it is, especially if you're producing electricity.
So this is like in the early 80s, and I'd done this. I had big mortgages on everything, and then the crash happened in '82. Interest rates were over 20%. All my tenants were based on 10% mortgages. Now it's all 20% mortgages. So when they paid, I'm underwater. I can't make the mortgage payments. So anyway, ended up getting a corner of a big mall, everybody was in trouble, and getting a whole bunch of doctors because there's going to be a hospital built there, and couldn't write a check for $10,000.
You couldn't write a check for $10,000?
No, but I had some interesting solid tenants that were interested in that corner, and had a famous player theaters, had a restaurant, had 40,000 square feet of doctors, because it's going to be and this one doctor put it all together, and so there's going to be a hospital across the street. So, but went to none of the lenders were interested, so I ended up with the worst shark lenders you can possibly imagine. Like just they're totally vicious, and
How vicious? In a time when interest rates were 20%, how vicious were they?
It wasn't so much. Everything was prime plus 3. Mm-hmm. The deal was they're going to lend $12 million. They get their money plus their interest, plus fees, plus, and then once they have all that, their money back and their fees and interest, we split 50-50. But if we spend any more than $12 million, it comes out of our half. So you got to bring it on time, on budget. So long story short, about 3/4 of the way through the project, a big bank comes and says, "We want the corner," but we need you to spend another $1 million in tenant improvements, vault, blah, 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 all this stuff. So we say to the lender, look, we need another $1 million here, but they'll pay $200,000 more in income than we projected, which means we spend the extra $1 million, but when we sell it, we get $2 million back. So we spend $1 million to get $2 million back. They went, absolutely, do it. So we did. We put the bank in, and then sold the project at the end. The Premier of the province came down and broke a bottle of wine and
No
said,
way.
these guys are the future of Alberta. The wheat's in the fields, the oil's in the ground. It was the largest project in Calgary in 1984.
Good for you.
Yeah. And I owed everybody in town money. And I said, and I said, just hang on here, because this project, right? So we went down to pick up our check, and they said, you owe us $5,000. I said, what do you mean? They said, you spent $13 million. I said, yeah, but you approved it. They said, do you have that in writing?
Oh, that's really special.
Yeah.
What a special moment that must have been for you.
Oh, yeah.
Were you throwing up blood after that?
Zero. I got zero. Well, no. So then the story goes on. I'd been working for 2 years to get this 27-acre site, and I'd already borrowed like $50,000 from them to tie that up. And so they said, look, sorry, it was a board decision. We didn't know that was going to happen. It wasn't done right. Blah blah blah. This won't happen. But this new shopping center, you're going to be fabulously wealthy. It's going to be wonderful. Right. So I flew to Toronto and I showed Eaton's the site, and they said, "Kid, where did you get this site? We've been looking for a site in Northwest Calgary forever, and we love it." And
Eaton's department store, biggest department store in Canada, next to Hudson's Bay.
Yeah, them in the Bay. Yeah. So then I went across the street literally to Sears, and I said, Eaton's likes, and they went, so do we.
Yeah.
So I came back with 2 anchors, which is in those days the best you could possibly have, and $85 million shopping center. I had no money. $85
million shopping center in 1984.
Yeah, and I had
holy shit.
Okay, Eaton's and Sears, and it was just like, if you've got Eaton's and Sears, you just fill in the middle, all your CRUs, your commercial retail, and anyway, I tell the story just to illustrate that you don't have to limit what you want to do. I mean, yeah. Obviously I made some mistakes. These days, emails would have covered me on that. But right. I still do business with trust. I'm not out to think whatever I do, I got to be careful or someone's going to take advantage. I'm not going to live that way. That's just not. That's based on fear. I'm not going to do it. And so we came back. It was just really quite something. All the other huge developers banded together to stop it because I had to reclassify the site. You were rezoning it. Mm-hmm. Yep. From trailer park to shopping center. Commercial. Yeah. Yep. And the big developers that owned all the centers in Canada banded together. They're going to stop it. Lobbied the Calgary planning department. Everything. It was this huge battle. Wow. And I absolutely loved it. I really did. Because I knew what was going to come. I'd laid plans out. It was a whole strategy. I went to all the best lobby lawyers and gave them deposits. They couldn't hire them. I couldn't hire them. Right, of course. Yeah, right. And I would have won the battle, but the partners turned out to be not good again, and which was no big surprise. But this time I had a buy-sell clause. You had a shotgun? I had a shotgun, and so I pulled the shotgun. And they paid you out? They paid me out, and then they never ended up doing the shopping center. But I got paid out a big number, and I was able to clean up everything, and it was a before and after event. But that was how we kind of survived all the other stuff. But yeah, so I mean, it's people say, well, what's a good way to get ahead? Well, fix up your house. What is a good way to get ahead? Fix up your house? Yeah, fix up your house. Yeah, okay. Yeah, fix up your house and sell it. If there's an uptick in the market and you can make yourself a significant amount of money, tax-free, Chris, can I share with you something that I find increasingly annoying? Sure.
When I hear 30-year-olds whine and whinge that they'll never own their own house.
Yeah, well.
And that political parties in our country, even though I am a conservative,
Yeah.
that the leader of our party would predicate a lot of his speeches on the average 30-year-old will never own.
Yeah.
What do you say to somebody that is in that part of their life?
Well, I said it's ridiculous. Of course you can own a house.
Of course you can.
Yeah. You're not going to make me, be in West Van with a view of the water. It's where do you want to live?
Right.
So and sometimes maybe it's best not to buy a house right now. Maybe it's best to invest what you have. I'm a big believer though in that real estate's a good way to go. I do personally like real estate. You can touch it, you can feel it. It's got intrinsic value, and in fact, when I first started in real estate, I started building, and Buffalo Builders, what a name, huh? And
Buffalo Builders.
yeah, and so, but I didn't know how to build. But I thought I took the risk out by pre-selling them all. But then I overbuilt them and it took a little longer, and so I locked in my loss. I could have actually sold them for more by the time they were finished.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you pre-sold them at a price, and the market went up, and your price didn't, and
yeah.
costs went up, and that didn't.
Yeah, and I didn't know what I was doing, so I had to hire everybody. I couldn't walk on a building site and say,
Nah.
So, but I always had a bit of an angle. Like all the ones I wanted to build always had to have a view. So it wasn't, I would buy a lot, knock the house down, build two, but they had to have a view. So there was, which is a bit harder to put a value on, which is helpful if you're trying to sell something. It's got a view. Well, how much is the view worth?
That's up to you.
Yeah.
How much are you willing to pay for it?
Yeah. So, but it was, risk taking is, it's fear of making mistakes, isn't it? But
Can you say that again, please?
fear of making mistakes. And you're going to make mistakes, and mistakes are going to happen to you. The biggest thing, I think, is this push, you could say, to control outcomes, like everybody should have everything, kind of thing. Well, it's impossible. There's no way that I'm going to be, a pro basketball player, to use a ridiculous example. Everybody's got different levels. The idea where everybody gets a gold star.
Quality of outcome.
Yeah, everybody's a winner. There are no losers. No. There's different skill sets. There's different energy levels. Some people work harder than others. There's equal opportunity, but equal outcome, no, impossible. That's the problem with the other systems. They all have this, socialism, communism, equal outcome. Mm-hmm. Everybody's the same. Everybody has one light bulb hanging in their living room. Mm-hmm. It doesn't work. We know it doesn't work. It's never worked. In fact, it's killed more people than any other system in the history of the world.
That's right.
But here we are, trying it again.
Democratic socialism, is that what we call it in our country? Democratic socialism?
I don't even know. I don't know. It's just a slide that way. It's like government's going to look after you. And if you are expecting someone else to look after you, why do you have to do something? And why would you work hard? For what? Mm-hmm.
Well, COVID taught us that, didn't it?
Yeah.
Why would I go to my $2,400 a month job when I could sit at home for $2,000 a month?
Yeah. Yeah, so there has to be incentive, and if somebody says to me, well, how do I get ahead? And they're young, I'd say, always work. I don't even care what it is. Just always, before you get another job, don't quit the one you've got.
Always work.
Always work. And if you're working at stuff you hate, you're going to really be looking around for something that you don't hate, and or something you're really not good at. I remember jobs like when I was young, like just picture a field that doesn't end and all it's got is like cuts down the middle, and I'm rolling up sod like this all day and ripping it out and putting it on the back of a truck. You got a 15-minute coffee break. This isn't working. The
human sod roller.
Yeah.
They have machines for that now,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, no, it's not some real tough jobs. And so, yeah, necessity being the mother of invention. You're kind of, but you know, if there is no consequence, then how do you learn? I mean, I don't know.
Well, it is because of all of the harsh consequences that we have faced previously through the exploration of our environment that we have come to such a brilliant standard of life.
But and I think you make a great point, because I think part of the problem is we have it so good that there's a yearning in the human soul for dignity, purpose, and significance. And all of us, it's there. I believe God put it there, and I believe God is the only thing that can actually fill it. So we try and fill it with all this other stuff. Well, what happens if you already have a comfortable lifestyle? You've already got, you know, a good marriage, and the kids have grown up, and your business is good. Now what? You know, why do you think, you know, Epstein has an island that rich people go to? You know, I mean,
yeah.
there's got to be more. 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 And so our culture, our society, Western culture, we're well off compared to the rest of the world.
We really are.
Like, Canada's like incredibly wealthy. I mean, you won the lottery to be born here. I say to people, what did you do to deserve to be born? You know, so isn't every day a gift?
Yeah.
I mean, so you're born in a society, for all its ills, that has lots of opportunity, freedom. I mean, I drove here on a nice paved road. Here I'm out in the middle of nowhere. You know, there's a fire department, there's police, there's you know, utilities, there's lights, there's turn on a tap. I mean, it's
just an amazing amount of infrastructure that you just described there. Think of all. Think of all of the components that have to go into making that machine run.
Totally, and it's a whole country. You get on an airplane.
A whole country, and a big one.
Yeah, fly anywhere you want. I mean, you know, yeah. So yeah, we and so what happens, I think, is that people grow up and they just take it for granted that this is like, but it's not filling the hole. You know?
What's not filling the hole? Being here in an affluent experience?
Right. Yeah. Not filling the hole. And so they're not happy. So why? Why aren't they happy? Why aren't they fulfilled? And the parents come along and they say, well, because it's not your fault, you know. And so there's this kind of culture that says, I'm a victim. You know, if there was more opportunity for my boy in this business, well, my boy doesn't want to go be a barista and work his way up. And I said, why not? And if you're in a barista and some guy walks in there and orders a coffee, and he's running a company, but he sees, gee, that kid over there is smiling,
yes,
and he's good at it,
yes,
and he's got an attitude.
You're
you know,
hired.
we could use him somewhere.
You're
you know,
hired.
and then boom, you know, there's always opportunity if you're meeting people. You know,
you're right.
And as opposed to, you know, I hate this effing job, and you know, I mean, so. But the parents come along and they don't want their well, here's the big fallacy, I think. As parents, we take way too much credit if the kids do well, and we take way too much blame if they don't. If there was a way that all our children could turn out as wonderful, productive, happy, satisfied human beings, we'd all be doing it. Now, you play the odds. But there are just too many factors. For example, there's evil in the world. And I've seen parents that gave their children every opportunity, university, every single opportunity, wealthy, everything, travel, you name it, tutoring, da-da-da-da. And the kids are drug addicts and alcoholics and prostitutes. And I've seen families that had no opportunity with 5 different fathers and 5 different kids and every kind of abuse. And that daughter's a poster child. That's how you want your daughter to be.
That's right.
You know,
answers the phone with manners and.
Yeah, and so A plus B doesn't equal C.
No.
So it's like, but the mothers in particular, when something's not happening, the kids aren't happy. They're so afraid it's going to reflect on them. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I've heard mothers say to me, "I'm not a good mother." Yeah, you're a great mother. Well, my daughter and my kids, and they're doing this and they're doing that. I said, "Well, yeah, but that's not you. That's them. I mean, you can't take responsibility for all the outcomes.
You can't take responsibility for somebody else's free will.
Yeah, and also there's character defects. Like I was adopted. And when I met my biological father at the age of 45, I could see in him defects that I have never met him before in my life.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man, it was very, very revealing. So, we've all got stuff that we got to work through ourselves, even little kids. Like I used to think, kids are born good. No, they're not. They're born greedy. They want it all. They want all the attention. You got to teach them to be nice.
Yeah, we are civilizing wild animals.
Totally.
That's it. We're teaching them how to bark politely.
Yeah, exactly.
And how to wipe their face, hopefully, after dinner.
Yeah. So, but what the parents do now, though, is they take away all the obstacles. We've got friends, the kids are living at home, they're 35, they're 40.
In a bubble suit.
I mean, there's no consequences.
Bubble boy.
But and they believe what the kids are telling them. Well, I want a job, but I don't want that job.
And I'll never be able to afford a house.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, and a lot of other things that happen when you're not working or you don't have to. You know what you're doing? You're drinking too much. You're doing too many drugs. Yeah, alcohol. Mm-hmm. You're doing drugs. You're the guys in particular. Pornography is a huge thing, and do you know who the biggest user of Viagra is? The age group?
Probably like 20 to 30-year-old men.
He got it.
Yeah.
Which is shocking. But they're so,
Well, that's their spouse.
Well, you know what? But they're so burned out, or not burned out, but they're so deadened because of all the pornography. When they're in a relationship with a woman, she's not doing it for them.
No.
And so they got the computer going and whatever. I mean, it's a pandemic, a real one.
It truly is.
It truly is, and a very. But I think you come to an end with that. The one thing I'd say is that after a while, I mean, I don't know how long you can do that for, before you come to some kind of end. I hope, but it's messed up a lot of marriages, and a lot of younger women will say, I can't be that. I can't do that again. That's not.
Yeah, that's an act.
Yeah.
That's contortionism.
Yeah, or whatever. Or whatever. It can get pretty dark.
Yeah. That's an act.
Yeah.
It's entertainment.
So, but along come the parents and they say, well, my little Bobby Johnny, just hasn't met the right woman, and it's all her, and the marriage breaks up, and not his fault. If it's not my fault, I don't need to change. A really tough statement is to say where you are in life is largely a result of your own choices. It's tough. A lot of people don't want to say that. And I get it, because there is grace. There is grace. I can't say that I got where I am because I did everything right. I got, it was the grace of God. I used to think that there's such a thing as a self-made man. No.
You don't think that?
No. No, because there's too many outcomes, too many things happen that I wasn't in control of.
Yes.
If that lease hadn't happened, I would have lost that building. If I lost that building, I would have lost my company, and I would have lost my house, and I would have had the line of credit pulled. Or if this didn't happen, or if that didn't happen, if this didn't happen, or I hadn't met that person, or that didn't happen. Way too many things.
Way too many variables.
Way too many variables.
In order for it to be all drawn back to a single origin.
Right.
You.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, somebody says, well, how do you get ahead? Don't stop working.
I like that.
You'll end up married, family, kids, and a house. I mean, it's the American dream, basically. It's still there.
So simple.
It is. And I think it's still there. And the reason I think there's still good news out there is I think there's a vast majority of people who are kind of still thinking that way. But all we hear about is that chunk that is kind of running things in Hollywood and the media and culturally, and putting forward a different vision how they see the future. And I don't look at those people and say they're evil. I just say they're misguided. They really believe that they're promoting freedom. They don't wake up in the morning and say, I'm evil, how can I mess things up? But we look at it and go, it is evil. It is messing things up. But it's you know what I'm saying? It's not that they, I mean, when Pol Pot in Cambodia took away your land.
Just for the good of the country.
Yeah, or they shot you if you wore glasses, because you're an intellectual. If you owned anything, you were somebody that took advantage of others. They just killed you.
Yeah.
I mean, they killed millions and millions and millions of people. And I'm not kidding about the glasses. They had special contraptions made out of coat hangers to throw babies in the air for target practice. So, when you look at evil in the world, and you mentioned Nazi, I mean, it's when it actually takes over the leadership, and comes top down. I mean, you're just, well, we saw it a little bit in COVID. You're scared. You're not going out of your house. You're doing what you're told. You don't want to be shipped off to a re-education camp or whatever.
Yeah.
And how are those people going to be free? We know history teaches us. I mean, you look at 70 million people died with Mao's march, the Great March. Starving.
That's to say nothing of Russia.
To say nothing of Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we look around here, I mean, why does everybody want to come to North America? Why does everybody want? It's freedom.
Yeah.
Still.
Still?
In a big way. I mean, I was really delighted that Alberta kind of went.
Oh, wasn't that nice to see?
Yeah, it kind of went back to some of its roots.
Home province for you.
Yeah.
Elects United Conservative.
UCP, yeah.
Majority.
Yep.
Close majority.
Yep.
It wasn't by much.
Well, it was 10% of the popular vote, but no, it wasn't by much. I mean, I think it's, 10 seats or something. And
That's not that big of a margin.
No, especially in Alberta. But now it's at least going to be on a track that I think will show people it's a better way.
Okay.
Like I always say, you want to get ahead, go someplace where you can get ahead. Go
home. But your view ties back to your origin statement, where if you want to get ahead, keep working.
Right.
Which is exactly what Daniel Smith was promising. Mm-hmm. The ability to keep working.
And way better taxation system there. There's no, for example, there's no PST. I mean, it's you get to keep a lot more in Alberta, a lot more. And the principle being that if people see that, they'll come, and by making more.
Tempting.
Yeah.
It's tempting, isn't it?
Yeah.
If it weren't for such the long winters,
Oh no, that's why I stayed in Calgary. For sure. I used to come out here in the Okanagan in the summertime. Everybody I knew came to the Okanagan and went, I sure wish I could make a living here. What a great place to live. But this is years ago. Nobody could make a living here. And now it's different. There is lots of opportunity, more and more opportunity here. But there wasn't back then. I worked in an apple orchard when I was 17 in Vernon, summertime. Driving tractor and laying irrigation pipe, and I loved it. But it was only for a season.
I want to just run something past you here. We've heard a lot of talk about this, depending on the type of media you consume. We're witnessing the largest transfer of wealth in human history right now. We're living in it.
Yeah.
Where your parents are dying.
Yep.
Parents of the baby boomers are dying.
Yep.
And they're leaving all of the highest value real estate, investments, and various forms of other assets to your demographic, who is a demographic of workers and savers.
Yeah.
You guys are cash flush. You're asset flush. You're property flush. You now have your cup completely overflowing with all of this old money from your parents' generation. We're seeing this happen all over the place. You're now in a 10 to 15 year window of the last good years of your life where you want to live out your fantasy. And what better place to do that than the place you couldn't make a living in?
Yeah.
All year round in the Okanagan.
Yeah.
And so we have this demographic coming into our real estate space. And I think the most exciting thing about this demographic coming into our real estate space is exactly what you pointed out at the beginning of our conversation, is that there are services that you are used to consuming that don't exist here. And as a result of that, you are going to look for people like me, people like Mike, and other young visionary entrepreneurs to partner up with and mentor so that those services, that experience that you're accustomed to, can exist here and people can live and thrive here year round. And that's really what we're hoping for.
And it's happening.
It is happening, isn't it?
Like it seriously is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there is, as you've said, you pointed out, there is so much money out there to be deployed.
Yeah.
And it is collecting cobwebs
Yeah.
and mothballs in the big five bank accounts
Yeah.
when it could be deployed at interest into the community, turned into a real estate development or a piece of architecture, which is ultimately way more valuable than money in a bank.
Yeah.
This
And
is a really-
and a good hedge against inflation. I mean,
Yes.
it is happening. You look at Vancouver. It's one of the world's greatest cities, and it's a 4-hour car ride away. All those people, they want to come here.
Mm-hmm. Every single one of them.
More and more and more and more and more. Calgary, a little further away, 8 hours, but yeah, no.
Hop on a plane,
you
doesn't
know,
matter.
and you think about it. Well, why? Well, it's this fantastic valley. This is Canada's Napa to the north. It's Napa Valley to the north, except it's better because it has a lake than Napa. So you've got this whole wine thing. The wine business is huge now. I mean, there's $100 million wineries. I heard about one just the other day. I can't remember the name of it now.
O'Rourke.
Yes. I heard 400 or 500 million.
Have you seen the facility?
No.
Oh, it's just out of this world.
Yeah. 400 or 500 million.
It's a completely different thing altogether.
Yeah. So, the quality you're talking about, it's on its way. I mean, it's already here. It's happening. You know, maybe not fast enough, but yeah, it's very exciting. And Canada as a country is full of natural resources. It's full of you know hardworking industrious people, really. And you know, all you have to do is you look at the immigration system. Do you think they're not working when the immigrants come here? Why are they doing so great?
Because they're working their ass off, Chris.
Exactly. And you know what? Oh, I can't buy a house. Well, then partner your first house.
Exactly.
You know, like hello. You know, like I can't buy that building. Find 3 more partners. Okay, and you only own 25%. And maybe your interest is carried because they put the money up, but hey, now you're in ownership and now you work on it, you improve it, then you sell it. Then, you know, 3 buildings down the road, now you're buying your first one by yourself.
Yes.
So, you know.
Yeah. That's in my notes.
Yeah.
One of my questions, how do you feel when you hear a young person say, I won't ever be able to afford a home?
Yeah.
My partner up with somebody. Become a business partner.
You know, and the thing is, I mean, it's not for everybody. I get that.
Taking risks?
Yeah, it isn't. Some people, we had a gal working for us once, and we came to her and we said, you know what, form your own company. And she's a single mom. Form your own company, and we'll pay you the same. Only be able to keep way more.
Because you're a corporation.
Corporation, so you can write off part of your mortgage on your house and your daycare and you pay less taxes, and it's a good idea. So what, you know. And by the way, if you want, you can have another client. You know, if you want to, you know. She said, no, I just want my paycheck. I said, okay.
I'd have to interface with the bookkeeper and an accountant at that point. It's too complicated.
You know what? You know what? It was just, you know. But hey, she kept working. You know. So I really bedrock belief is that if you found a Swiss watch sitting on a stump out over here, you wouldn't say that you shook a bunch of parts and now we got the Swiss Rolex that's working. So how much more complex are we? The idea of intelligent design, the idea that there's a God, the idea that this isn't a random somehow event that, you know, if you get monkeys hitting a typewriter for 1 billion years, they're going to create Shakespeare. No, they're not. You know.
That's right, Chris.
So there is purpose, there is dignity, there is significance because we really are children of God. And so, who wins? Well, He does. You know. So even sometimes when it looks real dark, you know, we win. We do. The light overcomes the dark. And I had the opportunity when I was young to travel. My dad was a pilot, and so I was able to travel all over the world. Now I wasn't able to take anybody with me because it was too expensive. But you know what? All over the world, people are the same. They all want the same things. You know, they want their families to be healthy and survive and grow and thrive. You know, they want the love of a good woman or a man. They want, you know, they want to do well. They want to be productive. I mean, you're an example. I think one of the undersold things, and I think you've alluded to it in one of your questions, and it's so true, is that I would rather have a carpenter be a carpenter than have an arts degree. And I think that things are shifting back to this idea that just like aren't a lot of people just sending their kids to college like as an expensive form of almost babysitting?
Babysitting? Oh, that's all it is.
I mean, and you come up with some useless degree that you can't get a job with.
Well, they're not going to get into very much trouble over there. They might need a partner and get a job at the end of it, and then they're out of my hair. And at least I could say at the end of the day, I did everything I could for them.
But I think the people that know stuff and can do things, they should be. They're going to go from $25 an hour to $50 an hour to $100 an hour to $200 an hour and up and up and up, because it's the law of supply and demand. And all of a sudden, we're going to look back and say, it's not like, oh, there's no such thing as a blue-collar worker. No. It's, well, you alluded to it at the beginning of the conversation, a master plumber. Well, that's priceless.
It is.
Like we worked with a guy, still do, in Calgary, and he does everything. And so if you can come and do something and it takes you an hour and it's done beautifully, perfectly, because of all your experience, you know how to do that particular project, and you give a bill for $1,000, but it was only an hour, but somebody else comes and they spend 8 hours and they don't do as good a job, but they're only $20 an hour or whatever. You know, my point isn't whether that's the right math or not, but my point is that it's worth it. The person that really knows what they're doing it's kind of priceless.
It is.
It is. And so, and people are aware of that, you know. I mean, I've worked with a lot of trades, and some friends will say, oh, I can't get anybody to do anything. Well, first of all, you grind them.
Right.
You know, like, you know, like, see what kind of, and if I send my guys over, you know, they're like, how much? You know, I said, well, look, you know, if you want it done right and you want it done relatively fast and smooth and you don't have to be there.
Babysitting, how much does that cost?
Yeah, I mean, or, you know, go find somebody else. And I literally have friends that I won't recommend anybody to.
You can't.
Because they're just going to be, you know. And
yeah, like when was the last time you went to your dentist and was like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, you know that $4,000 crown that you did for me?
Yeah.
$2,500. How about that? Get out of here.
Yeah.
But tradespeople, for whatever reason, it's just like what?
And you know what?
Are we in Mexico? Like,
but you know what? And we have great relationships with all of them, and we always make sure we check. Well, what's this for? Go buy yourself a nice dinner somewhere. Here's $100. It's not, maybe it was a big job, maybe it was a little job, but it makes all the difference.
Sure does.
And you have a little bit of a problem sometime. You're building relationships. In everything you're doing, you're building a relationship. And whose ambassador are we? You know? So, anyway, that's how I look at things. Yeah.
What do you know about sobriety, Chris?
Well, that's a great topic. I'm surrounded by friends and family that are alcoholics. My wife has not had a drink for 39 years. 12-step program, I think, is probably the best, most effective church that's ever been established because it works. It took the New Testament and it put wheels on it and lets people, well, I mean, it's a spiritual program. The first 3 steps, I can't, he can, I think I'll let him. Our lives are unmanageable in some aspect, whether it's alcohol or something else. Everybody's is. My life's unmanageable because of fill in the blank. I didn't realize I was crazy. Yeah, you are. I'm crazy, you know. You know, okay. I had to come to that realization that and I can't heal myself. So I think sobriety is well, it's an amazing thing. But it's not necessarily. And when I say sobriety, I don't just necessarily mean drugs or alcohol. I mean just like what the definition of what's a real man. A man who's real. Well, how do you become real? There's all sorts of arrows and slings out there, and this is a man, and that's a man, or tough guy, or whatever, and a lot of bogus stuff. So, this idea of growing up and getting stronger and getting freer and getting free from, it's a process, and there's no course, right? When you're young, it's the older guys that are cool, and you want to be like them, and then what if you're not an athlete? And I mean, it's it can be tough. But sobriety is it's a wonderful thing. I heard Gavin Newsom on TV the other day say this clean and sober thing. We know that doesn't work. I'm thinking.
Oh, well, why don't we give them more drugs then for free?
Yeah, you're an alcoholic, but why don't you? Here's a bar with no tab,
Yeah.
and
just go for it.
Just have fun.
Just go for it.
Yeah, it's insane. But
Chris, how could it be that we have been so distracted by something that is such a neurotoxic poison? Why have we been sold the illusion that alcohol is good and acceptable, and if you're not able to handle it, there's something wrong with you? Why is that a cultural?
Yeah, well, because I think there are a lot of positives to alcohol. It's not all negative. There is some enjoyment associated with it in moderation. There's some medical benefits even in moderation. There's medical benefits in terms of cleanliness and cleaning wounds with even that part of it. But even just the social, Jesus' first miracle was turning water into wine. There's a wedding banquet when we go to heaven. Imagine what that wine might be like. So I don't think that it's in and of itself. It's kind of like anything else.
Yes.
You can turn almost anything into an addiction. That's a natural kind of inclination lots of times.
But you've never met anybody that's shared the New Year's resolution. This year I'm just going to drink a little more alcohol. No, I'm really this year. That's never anybody's New Year's resolution.
No,
it isn't.
No, it's the opposite.
And so why is that?
Yeah.
Because we inherently know that it is a neurotoxic poison, and it compromises our ability to have intimate relationships with people, no matter how fuzzy it makes us feel.
Yeah. Well,
on a Friday night.
But I mean, it's. I mean, you don't turn on a TV show that doesn't have somebody having a drink.
No, you're right. Or a country song.
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously.
It's true.
And yeah, it's promoted. Yeah. I mean, I used to like smoking cigarettes. I loved them.
You used to smoke?
Oh, yeah.
When did you stop smoking?
About 33, 34, 33. Yeah. But I smoked from 17 to 33. Heavy. Yeah. Always had one going. Loved it.
You lighting one off the other?
Oh, yeah. I'd have one sitting in an ashtray and I'd already have it. No, oh no. I mean, it's kind of like sinning. People don't understand sin. Well, sin's fun for a while. You got to remember that. There's a pleasure to a cigarette until there isn't. But
Of course.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Cigarette and a coffee, cigarette and a drink, cigarette. I was never a morning smoker, but some people, cigarette in the morning.
Cigarette on the toilet.
Cigarette the whole time. I mean, I used to fly on planes and there's cigarette ashtrays right there. You never went into a board meeting or a boardroom or an office or a waiting area. There wasn't an ashtray. Everywhere. My mother was actually what they call a social smoker.
Social smoker.
Yeah, she would light it up. She would have a package of Demore in the freezer wrapped in saran wrap. She'd pull one out. You could tap the filter, it'd all fall out. But she would bring out, it was sophisticated. She'd bring one out and she'd smoke one at New Year's Eve or something.
Social smoker.
A social smoker, yeah. But yeah, but I mean, no, I mean you're sucking a poisonous gas into your lungs.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah. I woke up to that one day and went, no. Yeah, yeah. In fact, I'd had a flu kind of thing.
You had a flu, respiratory.
So I had a bit of a flu. I knew I wasn't going to smoke for 3 days, and I thought, okay, I'm going to get a jump start on it. And I never smoked again. Yeah. But it's a tough one to kick for a lot of people. I know people in my own family that kind of close to my age, they still smoke. So it's, I don't think is it growing? I mean, I heard it's growing in Europe they smoke.
Oh, the form of it's changed. It's vaping now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you can change the form of something, right? Like you can, what the form of alcohol's changed recently. You know, we have these hard seltzers and.
Yeah.
But it's all the same shit. It's just ethanol.
Yeah.
Right? It's all the same. It's just poison. It's just poison distracting you from your purpose.
Yeah.
It's just poison distracting you from the honesty that you are ignoring.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it is a poison. Yeah, it is.
If you were trying to keep something alive in a petri dish, you wouldn't feed it alcohol or nicotine.
No, it wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't.
No.
I like that chapter in Peterson's second book. Treat yourself like somebody you were entrusted with taking care of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Yeah. When did you quit?
This will be 5 years in November 17th. The
Did you-
sobriety story was, it was really funny because I had just signed the biggest contract of my career. Yeah, we still have a bit of time, I hope.
Yeah.
And it was this massive timber frame for a very eccentric client. Really cool project. And in order to celebrate the project, I said to Karen, let's go to Victoria and have a weekend. And so we flew into Victoria. It was the first time we were away from our daughter. Daughter was staying with her mother, and so we were really able to just relax and dig in and have a nice time. And we had 2 meals every single meal, 2 breakfasts, 2 lunch, 2 dinners, drinking at every single one of those. And we were sitting in the Empress in the lounge in one of the nicest pieces of architecture in the country.
Yeah, in the world.
In the world,
Yeah,
arguably, right?
On the bay, on the ocean, yeah.
Right, and we're eating fresh food, and I get the wine list, okay?
Yeah.
And I see that there is this beautiful bottle of Catina Chardonnay from Argentina, and we had spent some time down in the Mendoza region, and we're familiar with the wine, and it's just a wine you can't get here. The most expensive wine on the list, so ordered a bottle of it. And we're sitting there in the lounge of the Empress, and I'm looking at Karen, and she's looking at me. We're downing this bottle of wine, and I just start bawling. And I say, I don't want to have to kill my best friend in a car accident. I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose my business. I don't want to lose everything. Can we just stop this fucking madness, please?
So you had a road to Damascus experience. Wow. And that was it? You went cold turkey?
That was it. I haven't had a drink since.
You never went to 12 steps?
No.
Wow.
I grew up in AA. My dad was an alcoholic.
Oh, okay.
So I was that kid that, because I get a babysitter.
Yeah.
You're coming to the meetings.
Yeah.
So I could regurgitate the big book.
Yeah.
So you always knew
Yeah.
that you were being fucking lied to
by
society, that this was never a good thing to be putting into your system. You knew,
Yeah.
right? But you lied to yourself, and you tried it, and said, no, I'm that fit tennis player guy that has a nice house, a beautiful wife, a young daughter. I can have dinner parties and drink a case of wine over the course of a weekend. Why not?
Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio does it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but it's that honesty, right? It's that waking up at 3 a.m. going, no, that's not right. That's not right.
Yeah.
And so what is it that we're suffering from? Alcoholism or a lack of honesty? Really, when it comes down to it, we could, as we've discovered, we can swap the substance out for cigarettes or heroin or alcohol. What it is that we're suffering from is honesty.
Yeah.
And so when you're talking about being a man, what is a man? A man is someone who doesn't struggle with self-honesty.
Yeah. He was real. No masks.
No masks.
Lifetime to get there.
You shared with me something about your family when we were talking one time, and you appear to me, when I see you and talk to you, and you invite me into your home and you make me a coffee, and I'm sitting on the water and we're looking out into the bay, and I say to myself, I'm like, well, this man wants for nothing. And you challenged me on that presupposition when we were talking about your son, and how it would seem as though that there were few things that you could want for more than the health and well-being of a family member, and the honesty that would be a side effect of that, or vice versa. And that was a real sobering moment for me as well, to really kind of like go, you know, there could very well be a time in my life where I'm wanting very desperately for that intimacy that can only be had through the relationship with a family member. And I really, as a result of seeing your honesty in that moment, have like really tried to take the parenting thing very seriously. And a huge component of that is this commitment that I have to sobriety. To not say, to get to the point where I'm just like, no, you know what, I can have a fucking drink now. I can have a drink now.
Yeah.
Look at where I am. Look at what I've done. Look what we can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surely we can celebrate as well.
Yeah.
Well, no, the celebration is in the sobriety. The celebration is in the family, and the preservation of that institution.
Yeah.
That is the celebration.
Yeah, and I think further to your point too, the society, the Instagram society, the posting, the Polaroid Kodak moments, so to speak, it creates something out there that everybody else is missing something, because this is just normal for me. This is my, I'm standing on top of Mount Everest, and yesterday I was at Machu Picchu, and then before that, the day before I was at the Galapagos, and so it's false. Every life is broken, no matter what it looks like on the outside. That's the human condition, and we are always in the process of becoming. Like, if we want to use a recovery analogy, you're in recovery, I'm in recovery, we're recovering, we're not recovered. There's still more to come. There's still more before we're done. And when are we done? When our spirits
To be determined.
go upstairs,
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, I think that's probably a nice note to leave that on. Obviously, always appreciate our conversations, as in-depth as they are and as analytical as they are. The thing that I like about you is it doesn't seem like there are any boundaries to what we can talk about, what we can discuss. You seem like a very well-rounded spirit. We didn't talk about any of the promotion work that you did. That'll have to be for another conversation. That I look forward to as much as this one.
Yeah. Well, I count you as a good friend, even though we don't see too much of each other. You're a special guy. So anytime you want to get together, I've got more flexibility than you do, and I said to Deborah, we've got to get you guys over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd like that.
And the secret rooms and for the
Secret
kids.
rooms for the kids.
And your daughter Sydney, what's her?
Isla and Vera.
Isla is the older one?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was the sweetest. Bye, Chris.
Yeah, that's it.
I know.
That's
So,
just Isla.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she'll be mayor one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a joy. Thank you.
Great.
So,
Thank you, Chris. I look forward to our next discussion.
Yeah.